Welcome back, everybody. Will Worsham joins us now for this week's Speaking Legal discussion. Thanks, as always, for coming in.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, we are on to this week's question, which is the following. Apparently, there was some kind of an auto accident here. The driver that hit me does not have insurance. I've got some pretty extensive medical bills. Is there anything I can do, or am I just stuck with them? All right, on the face of it, is this person stuck?
You know, I really hope not. There's a lot of things that can be done here, generally speaking. Hopefully, I mean, if we know that the driver was uninsured, then we should know who that driver is. So one, you can bring a lawsuit against an individual, even if they're uninsured. The unfortunate part about that is then they're responsible for paying that themselves because they don't have insurance, and that's oftentimes difficult. But the state of Missouri will help. If you do get a judgment, you can actually have somebody's driver's license suspended until they enter into a payment plan if they caused damages in an accident and they were uninsured when that happened. Hopefully that's not our only remedy here, because that's not a great remedy.
What's a better one?
No.
Well, hopefully you have your own insurance. So your medical bills will be covered by your own health insurance. Should cover a lot of the medical bills, obviously not deductibles and things like that. The other thing that most people have in place, and a good insurance agent's always going to recommend it, is what's called uninsured motorist. Hopefully you have that on your own policy. I know I have it on mine.
That was my next question, because you hear that term batted about a lot, uninsured motorist. And a lot of us see it on our policy, and I guess we really maybe think that's going to help us if we do get hit by an uninsured motorist.
It really is, and from personal experience, I can tell you that it absolutely helps. And if you look at your premium policy and you break down, your uninsured motorist coverage is actually really cheap.
That's what I was going to ask. It's not that much money.
It doesn't cost you that much, and part of that is because, you know, we're in a mandatory insurance state like almost all states are, so the insurance company assumes whoever else hit you is going to have insurance, although I'm not sure that's necessarily true based on my, you know, anecdotal evidence from my work. But no, it's a great thing to have. And then that policy is going to pay out not only medical bills if necessary. Of course, your own insurance company should have a med pay portion that's going to pay medical bills for you or anybody else in your car that would be covered on that. But then also it will cover pain and suffering, you know, those pain and suffering judgments that you always talk about. But this is a situation that does place you in an adversarial relationship with your own insurance company, which you almost always are in any way, anytime you file a complaint. File a claim, but this is a scenario where you need to hire a lawyer. You need a lawyer to talk to your own insurance company and negotiate that settlement with them, just as you would negotiate a settlement with somebody else's insurance company. It's not something you want to try to do on your own, because once again, it's an insurance company trying to pay out as little as possible, as slow as they can, in order to preserve their own financial status.
If something like this happens to you, what are things you can do to help that attorney sort it out for you? In other words, documentation, things like that, I would imagine, is of utmost importance.
Yeah, keep the medical bills that you can. All those are helpful. Of course, your attorney's going to get all those anyway. You're going to request them, as well as your medical records. Documentation at the scene can be very helpful. Anything you can get, pictures, statements, things like that. You want to make as few statements yourself as you can. The police should always be called anytime there's an accident, if they're willing to respond. There's a response policy in Springfield about what they will and won't respond to. But if you have that documented by a police report, especially as to whose fault it is, it's very helpful going forward. There's one other type of insurance I'd like to mention here briefly that kind of rolls into this. In addition to uninsured motorists, there's also a type of coverage called underinsured motorists. A lot of people are going to be driving with state minimum insurance, and that may not be enough to cover the total payout, total damages that would be due in an accident. If it's a serious accident with extensive medical bills, lifetime injury, lifetime pain and suffering type of thing, state minimums aren't going to cover that. But if you have an underinsured motorist policy rider on your policy, it's going to cover that as well, and that is even cheaper. So these are really inexpensive things that you can go to your insurance agent and say, hey, I want to make sure that I've got uninsured and underinsured coverage on my policy. It's well worth it.
Unfortunate that you have to pay for what people aren't willing to pay for. But I think that, you know, with some of the older cars or whatever, people just think I'll just get enough to get by.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it is a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have it for yourself.
And then, you know, if you're in an accident and you need to make that claim, you know, hire an attorney. Call us. We'll be happy to help.
Get some good advice. It matters big time. All right, if you have a legal question, you can email Will at wworsham@color10.com. He will answer your question on the show. As always, thanks for coming in, Will.
Glad to be here.
Will.
Thank you.
See you next week. All right, coming up, Hula Hands. Love Hula Hands. Throwing a huge party this weekend. You're invited. We're going to get those details for you next, so don't go away.